Hello, lovely people! Welcome back to this course. Today we are going to dive into the meat of 3D AI Studio, which is of course the 3D model generator. Our goal is to turn one image into a usable 3D model. Let's get the image ready that we created in the last lesson, or any image that you have lying around and want to use for this, and let's go! This video is a paid partnership with 3D AI Studio. Let's go to image to 3D right away. The first thing that we should do here is upload our image or grab our image from the dashboard. One of my lovely cat ladies here. First of all, you can crop the image and view it in full size. And then we can go to edit with AI prior to 3D generation. The main thing in this menu here is to be able to quickly edit your image prior to generating. You can choose the different AI image generators here as well. One of the things that we can do here is the background removal. But actually, I wouldn't recommend removing the background here, because if you go to the Image Studio under Utilities, it will take only 1 credit to remove the background and not 2 to 6. Just a short tip, and back to the Edit menu. You can transform your 3D model into a 3D render style, which ours already is, but this is something that is proposed here, so it shows how important it is to have something in the style of a 3D render to get a nicer result, in many cases at least. You can change to T-pose, but I already have A-pose, so that is not something that I need. Change her left eye to a bright amber color. Leave everything else unchanged. So if you just want to alter a specific detail, it often helps if you add this prompt, leave everything else unchanged, so that the AI doesn't take some creative freedom and change something else as well. Here you could also now click on Improve, which improves the probability that your prompt yields good results.
1 minute later.
Yes, so now she has 2 colored eyes. Let's say use this. It's not necessary that you absolutely have to have an A pose or T pose. If you are just searching for a nice model that you can 3D print, or maybe not even a character, let's say you want to build a little isometric room or a little castle or anything like that, of course, then you would prepare your image differently. But in general, having it clean, centered, focused, and in the pose that you need for further workflow. And this is why I'm telling you all of these little details, so that your 3D model really shines from the get-go and you don't need lots of iterations to find a good model. Let's go into the AI models. There are lots and lots of models to choose from, some coming soon, some in beta. All of them give different results for different things. And here you can also sort by different filters, our choice, Prism, Forge, Meshi, Hunyuan. And also you can toggle between single image models and multi-image models. One thing that is really helpful here is this View Examples. So if you go to View Examples, you can see different results from the different models. There is not an example for the Hunyuan model yet, but I'm sure it will come soon. And you can always load these models in 3D and compare their details. If you want to go to View 3D, you can check out that model in close-up and see how it compares to the others. And it really helps to think about how you want your models to be generated, because you can see the Swift model, which only costs 15 credits, really just has a very rough outline. Here the X is kind of broken up, whereas the Prism 3.0 really shines here with the X. It's fused to the body as well, which would be perfect actually for 3D printing. You can also see Forge Sketch, which is the cheapest model, is really different from the 90s, but without the careful touch of a 3D modeler. Absolutely great examples to see what you can expect. Later, we will have a look at the result from the current 2 main AI models, Prism 3.0 and Hunyuan. I will give you some hints and tips for both of these models now. Of course, the models constantly change and are developed, so these may not be the ones that you are using in your case. Let's choose Hunyuan. We can double click on the model to open it up quickly. Select your preferred image. Each model, there are different options. So here we can say which generation type we want. So there's low poly. This will directly optimize your model. There's the remesh function, so we don't necessarily have to do that right from the start. But if you want to go for a low poly model right away, this will not increase the credit count, so you don't have to remesh later. Then geometry without textures. No, I don't want that. But if you just go for 3D printable models, this might be totally helpful here. Or sketch if you have line art. And then you can open up the Advanced tab down here. If you like, you can enable PBR materials. PBR stands for Physically Based Rendering. Without PBR, it's basically just paint. And with PBR, it's paint plus a description of what the surface is made of. The bottommost point is important. Each AI model has an automated upscaler that scales your image for no extra credit cost. Usually, it costs 2 creds to upscale an image to 2K. So if your image is smaller, you don't have to upscale anything prior to a 3D generation, since this is done automatically. And let's click Generate. This screen and animation will appear and it will just take some time. So let's use Prism 3.0. We can go to the texture quality and the geometry quality and set it to detailed. Now it costs 40 credits. Be aware that it will increase in pricing. I will go to detail just to show you the maximum. And we could also set a phase limit, but since there's a remesh function in 3D AI Studio, I won't do that. Okay, let's compare the models that we used. We start with an overview of the viewport functions. You will see some variations of the cat girl I generated with other 3D AI models, but the functions are always the same. You can turn on the model statistics in the viewer settings. Here we can see that the model size is roughly 28 MB and 300K vertices, so not giant but also not super tiny. You can also see the real-life size here, but this doesn't really matter, since we can resize it with any 3D program or slicer. We can turn the materials on and off, and here in the viewer settings we can say we want the model to auto-rotate. I turned that off because I found it very distracting. If we turn off smooth viewport, the handling might be a little quicker. You can change the camera type if you prefer a perspective mode. Here for these models I like the autographic. And of course you can turn on the wireframe mode to see how the model is built. I like to put this sidebar out of the way to have more real estate on the screen. Down here you have some specific actions that you can do. If you hold the middle mouse button you can zoom in and out, or if you scroll it. If you press the left mouse button you can rotate around the model, and with the right mouse button you can pan up and down. Let's go to Prism 3D. And here we have the highest vertex count, so it's 1 million vertices, 56 MB size. Under materials, we always have the option to disable the material, and we also have the option to turn down the PBR rendering, give it a bit less metalness, or also turn it off completely to just get a better impression of how it looks without all these extras. Let's take a look at her. The face worked out, even though we have some artifacts going on here. Let's not smooth the viewport, that always slows things down. I don't know what it is with these paws, but somehow the 3D AI has a big problem with these. At least the tail is in the right place, where it should grow naturally, with any cat lady, of course. The hair is okay. Yeah, and now let's go to Hunyuan. Here we have almost 300K, so on the smaller end. Let's take a look at the general result. So the paws, again, they just look hideous. It seems to be a problem for 3D model generators to create realistic paw mittens, unfortunately. She is a little whitewashed in the face. Her jacket has been discolored a little bit towards the end, which is not a problem, looks cool, but it's not how the jacket looks in the image. Her tail is great, it's sitting where it should sit, the jeans looks great, the denim, and the eyes, I think the texture of her face is far superior to all the others. The hair is great as well. I think Hunyuan really does a good job, and of course the paws would have to be worked on. So that is my winner in this case. What do you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. And let me know if you absolutely despise what I created here. But I hope not. I will quickly show you how to remix the model so that you can do things like adjusting the pose or adding or removing some details directly after 3D generating. So click on Actions and then Remix Model. Then we need to position the model's front. Then we click Set Front and Continue. This will automatically grasp a series of images from all sides, and then we can describe the changes that we want to make. And then we can once again click Improve Prompt, and I want to do that with Nano Banana Pro, and then the image generator will generate a new version of the model for us. And once we've done that, we can use this newly generated variation to create a new 3D model. I will use the base model for a quick export overview, but of course you can use any posture that you created. If you want to download your model, usually it will get downloaded as a GLB file, which is great for quick viewing and exporting the PBR materials if you have some, and it's a good exchange format for 3D models. If you want to rig your model at any point, you might want to go for FBX, and you can't do that here. The only additional format that you have here is STL. But if you go to the dashboard, check out your 3D model, you can convert it to different formats here. We could just make a 3D print out of her, even though the posture is not very interesting, right? And I will be showing more in-depth info about 3D AI printing workflow in a future video. For now, just a quick overview. We can either export with full colors, which is great for binder jetting, or if you have lots of filament to spare, because at least with such a highly detailed model as this, the waste tower will be very big. To avoid this, we can use a limited palette and just use a few colors in specific places. You can choose a custom palette for your exact amount of multicolor filament. Or, which will be perfectly fine in most cases, just export the model with no colors at all. You will get the mesh only. We can scale it, and we could add a base. Just in case you wanted your cute cat lady or whatever else you have created, you can add a base here prior to exporting and then download the OBJ file. As a final option for exporting, let's quickly look at remeshing. It does not guarantee a production and animation ready mesh. It mainly shrinks the vertex count, however, the edge flow might not be ideal. I don't recommend the free option since I was not convinced by the quality, but Ultra seems to be a solid choice. You can also use it to export in multiple formats. In general, 3D AI Studio does a great job at generating the models in a relatively good state for 3D printing, but if you want to optimize the file size, this is possible here too. By the way, if you need individual help with preparing models for 3D printing, I'm available for one-on-one consulting and also offer many courses on Blender and 3D printing. Okay, so here's the reformat. FBX is not supported in the online viewer, so let's download the file. Now, this just has some garbled name, so I will just copy over the name from the GLB into the FBX so that I know what it is. And then we go into Blender, and let's import the FBX, and that is our result. Shade flat, so we see her geometry. And that's it for this lesson. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. More tutorials and workflows incoming, so stay tuned. See you in the next one.